What if one unanswered call changed everything? What if a single moment of hesitation rewrote the destiny of two people whose connection captivated millions? For years, fans around the world have been obsessed with the burning chemistry between Yaman and Demet Özdemir. Was it all just acting? Or was there something real behind the cameras, something too powerful to hide? Today, magazine news and gossip brings you the story that everyone thought they knew until now. Because behind the fame, the red carpets, and the flashing lights, there was a truth carefully hidden, one that only a few ever dared to whisper about. Until the silence was finally broken. It all began in Istanbul, when Yaman was just starting to rise as one of the most promising actors of his generation. His charisma, confidence, and mysterious charm quickly turned him into an international star. At his side, from the very beginning, was his manager, a man who saw everything, who lived every victory and every heartbreak from the shadows. And now, after years of silence, this same manager has finally decided to speak, revealing what truly happened between Jan and Demet, and why their story still haunts both of them today. According to the manager, the rumors that once flooded social media were not entirely baseless. There was truth mixed with exaggeration. People saw their looks, the subtle touches, the smiles that lingered a second too long. What they did not see were the sleepless nights, the messages that were never answered, the phone calls that came too late, and the tears shed when the cameras stopped rolling. Behind the glittering image of perfection, there was a storm no one could imagine. The manager recalls one night in particular, a night that changed everything. Demet tried to call him, he says. It was very late, and she wanted to talk, but he did not answer. Not that night. That missed call, he claims, became the invisible wall that grew between them. Imagine how a simple unanswered call could have changed their fate. It was such a small detail, yet it carried the weight of a lifetime. Demet herself would later hint in interviews that she had regrets, that there were moments she wished she could take back. And now we finally understand why. Behind the confident image that the world saw, Jan was not as invincible as people believed. The manager reveals that he struggled deeply after his connection with Demet began to fade. He tried to act as if nothing was wrong, the manager says. But I saw it. He was restless, distracted. He would ask me questions like, "Do you think she still cares? Was it ever real? Or was it just part of the show?" For a man like Yaman, adored by millions and seemingly on top of the world, it was Demet who had made him feel vulnerable, who had reminded him that even fame cannot shield the heart from pain. The confession continues with stories of secret meetings. Yes, there were nights when Jan and Demet met away from the public eye. Not always to fight. Sometimes they simply sat together, silent, lost in thought. Sometimes they laughed. There was love there, no matter what anyone says. But the problem was timing. Jan was on the edge of launching his international career, while Demet was still finding her path. They loved each other, but they were not free. And in the world of fame, not being free is often the beginning of the end. The most emotional part of the testimony comes when the manager remembers seeing Jan after one of those secret encounters. "He came to me with red eyes," he recalls. He had been crying. Yaman, the man everyone thought was untouchable, had cried for her. He did not want anyone to know, but I knew. That was when I realized it was not just a rumor. This was love, and it was destroying him. The story does not end there. The manager sheds light on Demet's side too. Contrary to what many believed, she was not the cold one. She cared, he says, maybe even more than January. She was the one who tried to hold on. According to him, she sent messages, asked about him through mutual friends, even waited for him outside his door one night, hoping he would return home. But he never came. That image of Demet waiting alone under the dim light has never left his memory. These confessions paint a heartbreaking picture of two people trapped between love and circumstance. And fans can't help but ask, what if Jan had answered that call? What if he had gone home that night? Would the story we are telling today be completely different? The manager also speaks about the relentless pressure of the media. They were hunted, he says. Every move was exaggerated. If they smiled, it meant love. If they looked away, it meant a breakup. They could not breathe without headlines twisting their every gesture. Eventually, both gave up trying to control the story. But then came the biggest revelation of all. According to the manager, even years later, Jan never truly moved on. Yes, he traveled, he dated, he smiled for the cameras. But privately, there was always a shadow of her. He adds, even now, when you ask him about her, his eyes change. You can see it. She is still there, somewhere in his heart. Fans around the world were stunned by these revelations. Because even though everyone believed that the story was over, it seems that it never really ended. The manager, who stood by Jan through fame, scandals, and triumphs, confirmed what fans had always suspected but never dared to believe, that the love between Jan and Demet was real, that it had hurt them both, and that it still lingers to this day. So, where does this leave us now? According to the manager, the past cannot be changed. They both made choices, some right, some wrong. But what matters most is that what they shared was unforgettable, something that millions of people around the world felt because it was too real to hide. And now, as fans rewatch old interviews, old moments, old behind-the-scenes videos, they see everything differently. Every look, every smile, every quiet second between them carries new meaning. Behind the lights, behind the fame, there was a real story, a story of love, loss, and one unanswered call that could have changed everything. But the revelations do not end there. After breaking his silence, the manager also revealed how the aftermath of the Jan and Demet saga shaped their lives and careers in ways fans never truly understood. He describes the period after their rumored separation as the hardest time for January. Although he appeared cheerful in interviews and smiled for fans, the manager says that he often returned home in silence, refusing to speak for hours. He was not angry, the manager explains. He was empty. Fame had given him everything, but without her, it had also taken everything away. Demet, on the other hand, channeled her emotions differently. According to the manager, she poured her feelings into her work. Every role she accepted, every performance she gave was marked by traces of her hidden pain. When I saw her on screen, he admits, I knew she was not just acting. She was living her truth, expressing what she could not say out loud. Anyone who has ever loved and lost could feel it. The silence between them was heavy, but not absolute. Fate, it seems, was not done playing with them. There were moments when their paths almost crossed again, at industry events, award ceremonies, even on the streets of Istanbul. I remember one night, the manager says, they saw each other across a crowded room. For a second, the world stopped. They did not speak, but their eyes said everything. Everyone else was cheering, celebrating, but they were somewhere else entirely, lost in that moment. Then came Italy. Jan's move abroad was supposed to mark a new beginning, a clean slate that would free him from the past. Yet, the manager insists that it only deepened the wound. Italy brought him fame, fortune, and a new world of possibilities. He became a superstar there. But every time he walked through the streets of Rome or Milan, every time fans called his name, there was always someone who mentioned Demet. He could never escape her shadow, not even across borders. Meanwhile, Demet faced her own crossroads. Rumors about her love life flooded the media, but according to those close to her, none of her relationships had the same depth as the one she once shared with January. She was searching, says the manager, maybe unconsciously, for something she had already found once. But how do you replace a love that was never meant to end? The emotional weight of these revelations has shaken fans across the globe. Social media has exploded with discussions. Old photos of Jan and Demet have resurfaced, and clips from their past projects are trending once again. Every smile, every touch, every lingering glance is being analyzed by fans desperate to find clues. The question haunting everyone now is the same. Was their story truly over, or is there still one last chapter waiting to be written? The manager ends his confession with words as heartbreaking as they are powerful. Some loves do not need to last forever to be unforgettable, he says. Maybe Jan and Demet will never say it publicly, but they know what they had. And no matter where life takes them, they will always carry each other in their hearts. It is a revelation that feels less like gossip and more like a secret entry from the hidden diary of their lives. And now that the manager's words have been made public, the world is left stunned, wondering if perhaps, just perhaps, the story of Jan Yaman and Demet Özdemir is not over after all, but simply paused, waiting for destiny to play its final card.